What's up, guys? It's your boy Pookie the Bear back again with UFC Fight Night Marcin Tybura versus Sergey-Spivac 2 betting guidelines and predictions. And we're going to get into it here. First up, last week, fantastic, really fantastic here. 17 for 21, two same game parlays hit out of 3. One lock missed, all of my strong leans hit, and literally the lock parlay and lock and strong parlay both would have hit if it wasn't for Dudikova not getting that decision. So yeah, fantastic week. Let's see how my methodology does this week though. First up, we have Stephanie Luciano versus Tybura-Alencar. And Luciano's got some big advantages here, obviously in height and reach, coming in here at 5'6" compared to 5'1". So yeah, 5-inch advantage here in size. They already had a fight previously. Let's take a look at my notes here. Yeah, in that first fight, Alencar definitely took the first round. She's a prolific grappler, so she definitely has that going on for her. And then in the second round, Luciano realized that she could hit her with those big teeps, the straight punches, basically big man kickboxing. Started using some head movement, takedown defense, and used her cardio. Alencar really started to gas out here in the second round, and that's how Luciano ended up 10-8ing her in the third. So, I don't know. They called it a draw. I honestly thought Luciano won the second round as well, so it is what it is. I have a strong lean on the Luciano money line here at -162. I do think that that's pretty good odds for her. I think she's gonna overwhelm her here. I'm also kind of moderately leaning towards a same game parlay of a Luciano money line over 2.5 rounds, or even by decision +120. There's not same game parlay availability on DraftKings yet for this fight. But going on to the second fight of the night, we have Errens versus Williams-Diniz. Errens is a very powerful striker. He beat Stephen Nguyen in his last fight viciously with uppercuts and hooks. But besides that fight, he tends to come up short. Williams-Diniz, he looks like a seasoned professional, and he is. He's got the skill and experience advantage. He's got knockout and submission potential. 1.73 significant strikes absorbed per minute. I thought that number was crazy. Both of these guys, though, make some iffy decisions at times, especially in big moments in fights. But the odds that I have here at the top, these are the opening odds for the fights. So if you look at the end for the ones that I pick, those are the most up-to-date odds as of the time of filming. Yeah, after Errens' fight, I think he could be coming in hot here. He really busted up Nguyen pretty badly. And I think Zalal's going to come out looking to capitalize on that. I think Zalal's going to come out there looking to capitalize on his skill advantage as well. So I think that the under 2.5 is the sweet spot here on this fight. The money line on this is all messed up. I really think Zalal's going to win as well, but I really think that I think it was like at -4 or something last time I looked. So it's a little bit crazy. For me, not worth playing, especially on the off chance that Errens actually does crack this guy in the chin, because he does tend to put himself in pretty bad positions for a guy like Errens, who does just throw those crazy big hooks and uppercuts right up the middle. He just has that nasty combination. He kept hitting Nguyen with it over and over again, and it looked nasty, and I'm sure it felt pretty bad. It ripped him up. So with that in mind, I don't understand the money line. I do like the under 2.5. I think Zalal under 2.5 is a pretty good pick at +265 as well. But yeah, I would say avoid putting this money line either way in your parlay. Yarna's probably going to lose, but there is a chance. Moving on, we have Carl Williams versus Luciano-Diniz. I spent so much time thinking about this one. I really did. Williams 3-0 in the UFC, of course, heavyweight. Recently beat Justin Tafa by decision, which I think is honestly more impressive than beating Luciano-Diniz. I'm not going to lie. Diniz is a 1-0 UFC fighter. He beat Austin Lane with a pretty impressive second round knockout. Austin Lane has kind of given up at that point. He really doesn't have much takedown defense. This guy is a kickboxer. he had a pretty lengthy kickboxing career. 22-7 as a kickboxer professionally. In glory, he was 3-4. And in 2018, he got knocked out by Croatian superstar kickboxing sensation. What was his name? Milan Brestovac. Savagely head kicked. He went to sleep after that one, and then he retired for like 3 years. And then after that, he came back, started fighting at lower levels of competition. We're talking like Romanian regionals. And then he started training MMA not long after this. I think he came back 2021 and then started training MMA in 2022. Last I saw, he's a blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as well. Carl Williams has expressed his full desire to take him down and beat him on the ground, and that's kind of what he does. I think Carl Williams is a really good fighter. The opening odds -225 for Carl Williams, I think, is almost disrespectful for how good he is. I was really tossing with this fight for a minute, and I was like, man, because Williams does get caught. He does get caught in his fights, but he's fighting guys that are way better than Diniz. Like, I'm sorry, Diniz, his hands are very powerful, but I think that he's not going to be able to throw him that well against Carl Williams when he's going in for the takedown. I think Williams has the better cardio as well, most likely. But honestly, I don't know if I can really say that because we haven't really had to see Diniz's. But that's just my theory. One thing I will mention as well, Carl Williams mentioned in an interview, he recently bought a house. He moved back to, I believe he said Atlanta or Detroit. I think he said maybe Atlanta. So he's training at a different gym. He doesn't have a dedicated striking coach at the moment. Kind of said he's just been hitting pads. He said this is the first time he's done a camp with his family at home. So I don't know. That could have an effect on him, a negative effect potentially. So that's something to keep an eye out for. But I am strongly leaning Williams' money line here. I really think he's going to get it done. And I think I'm pulling for the over 2.5 as well here. I think he's going to drag it out with Diniz. And I don't think Diniz is going to be an easy guy to knock out or get a submission on or anything. I mean, he might be easy to submit. So I don't know. I might reconsider that strong lean on the over. But I feel very strongly about Williams winning this fight at this point. And this is something I've been like kicking around for like 3 days now. Like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But yeah, moderately leaning towards Williams by decision at plus 150. That's pretty good odds there. But I don't know, man. He actually could submit him. I really didn't think about that until just now. So we'll see. But still, strong lean on Williams' money line. I almost like want to put it as a lock, but there is like that puncher's chance with Diniz, but I don't think he's gonna get it. I might make Williams' money line the lock. We'll see. Moving on, we have Carol Rosa versus Pannie-Kianzad. Rosa, 6-3 in the UFC, volume striker, black belt, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. She's pretty freaking powerful, pretty impressive, tough. Pannie-Kianzad, she was on The Ultimate Fighter, if I remember correctly. She lost to Macy Chiasson. She's 5-5 in the UFC scene. Showed virtually no takedown defense against Chiasson or Vieira, but in her last fight against Chiasson, the rematch, which she also lost by submission, she did look a little bit better on the ground than she had before. I see Rosa winning this one. I kind of want to say a decision here seems to make sense, but I don't know, man. Rosa's a pretty tough girl. I could see her possibly giving up the first round or maybe the second round, more than likely the first round, and then coming out dominating Kianzad for the rest of the fight and like potentially 10-8ing in the third round. Pannie tends to fade away the longer the fight goes on, whereas Rosa tends to heat up and get more and more in your face, more volume, and she just keeps coming at you. So I really don't see an option for Kianzad to win this fight. I almost want to make it a lock, but moderately leaning Rosa money line at -218. But I think that's going to be a pretty impressive, I think it's going to be a pretty interesting fight. I actually am eagerly awaiting it, especially because after it, we've got this one. Shara Lampos Gregorio versus Toshiomi Kazama. I think it's Toshiomi Kazama. Sorry about that. Yeah, you don't really need to think about this one too much. I watched the fights here. Gregorio hits like a freaking tank. He's got that weird boxy build. You can see that in his shoulders. He can hit hard, and he'll just swing from the hip. He'll throw the craziest punches. Like oh man, I can't remember who it was. One of his knockouts that he had, or maybe it wasn't a knockout. It might have just been his last fight. I just remember at one point he's punching this guy so hard. He's like trying to punch this guy in the chin so hard. He's damn near punching the floor. Like he's just going all in, just like gorilla punching, trying to hit this guy in the chin with that. Savage. The guy's a freaking savage. Kazama, on the other hand, does not block punches to the face. I think he closes his eyes when people are punching at his face because he just keeps his hands up in the same place every time. Like he doesn't move them like depending on the punch that's coming in its way. He just kind of keeps them like right here and hopes for the best. And he's on a 2-fight, maybe 3-fight consecutive first round knockout streak. Yeah, Kazama's kind of a regional level guy. I think this was a short notice call up for him. He was on Road to UFC in the finale, and he got flatlined in that, blocked 0 punches or kicks to the head. Got chinned with a jab by Garrett Armfield, dropped, and then tried to lay on Armfield's arm to prevent the knockout. And the result was he got knocked out in the first round of that fight as well. Yeah, against Gregorio, I think this is going to be an excellent opportunity for Gregorio to get a flashy highlight reel knockout and get his name on the map a little bit. I'm sure they want to promote this guy being, the only guy from Cyprus in the UFC. So this is a fantastic matchup for him. The opening odds at -185 for him were kind of nuts. But I do like, the Gregorio money line right now, -258. I think people woke up and realized, what the hell? Under 1.5 rounds, +110. I think that's pretty sweet money right there. I think that's pretty free money. I don't see, if Kazama couldn't get through the first round with any of the other guys he's fought so far at this level, I don't see him getting past the guy at a higher level than those guys. So I don't know. I like Gregorio by knockout under 1.5 rounds. The odds for that particular play are not currently available yet, but that is something that to keep in mind. I think this is going to be an awesome fight to watch. We're going to see a crazy knockout. Kazama just kind of goes out there like Justin Gaethje, Max Holloway at the end of that fight, except he's not as good as them. He doesn't have the blocking ability or the head movement. He just gets cracked. So yeah. Moving on here, we got Yana Santos versus Chelsea-Chandler. Santos 4-5 in the UFC on a 3-fight losing streak. Relatively consistent veteran who really needs to win here, especially with Dana White Contender Series right around the corner here. Actually next Tuesday, as a matter of fact. Chelsea-Chandler 2-1 in the UFC, 4-1 on Invicta. Regularly struggles to make weight, especially at bantamweight. I was surprised to see her fighting at that again. Coming into the third round against Rosa, she was the favorite. Good clinch striker. Generally, Yana Santos has more output than Chandler on the feet, whereas Chandler, she's a big weight bully. She tends to struggle to take the big shots, but again, she's a weight bully. I think Chandler's weight cut could really decide this fight. If she comes in 5 pounds overweight, 3 pounds overweight, obviously she's going to have an advantage, and I would put money on her. But if that's not the case, then I think Yana Santos might surprise the world here. But I would say avoid this fight altogether. I did see an interesting bet for Chandler +3.5. So like +3.5 rounds, as in if it goes to decision, you give Chandler 3 rounds. 3.5 rounds towards the score for the win. So as long as she doesn't get 10-8'd, knocked out, or submitted, basically, you win that and at minus 225. I thought that was a pretty fun little bet there. So I'm kind of moderately leaning on that. That's a consideration play. Moving on here, we have Chris Gutierrez versus Kwong Le. This fight's crazy to me. This was so freaking crazy to me. Le's a short notice guy coming from the LFA. He was actually supposed to be on Contender Series, but now he's fighting Chris Gutierrez instead. That's an insane skill curve. That is actually crazy. That's like showing up to tryouts and then ending up in like the NBA. That's crazy. Gutierrez 8-3-1 in the UFC. He's been fighting against like seasoned veterans, skilled guys in the division. He's a guy that actually has title aspirations still, and could get him. Great speed, great kicking game. His distance management is on point. Kwong Le does have some heavy hands, and he thinks he's going to get a first round knockout on Gutierrez. And I think this is going to be a disastrous fight for him in his debut. Gutierrez money line right now is minus 600. So obviously the bookies know what's up here. I'm considering there's really not too many odds released on this fight yet, but, I will consider the odds on, Chris Gutierrez getting a knockout here, TKO. We're picking the under all in all. But yeah, this is going to be an interesting fight. Who knows though? If Kwong Le surprises the world, that'd be, he'd get a lot of fans from that for sure. I'd be a fan. Moving on, we've got Danny Barlow versus Mariscal-Jackson. This is another short notice fight to save the card. Danny Barlow's on a 4-fight knockout streak. Left hand to God. This is a short notice fight for Veretennikov. He's a regional guy. He was on Contender Series a couple years ago, or maybe last year, and lost to Morales. He did survive the fight, but he definitely didn't win. I feel like this is a lock for Barlow at minus 355. Might actually be worth playing. Normally, I don't like odds that high, but for Danny Barlow against Veretennikov, seems to make sense. I got a strong lean on the under 2.5 rounds, minus 135. And I'm kind of considering Danny Barlow by knockout at plus 110. I think Danny Barlow is going to get the knockout here, but I don't think it's going to be a quick one. I think he's going to at least go into the second round here, if not the third round. It could even be a decision for Barlow. Veretennikov's a tough guy. Let me see here if I have any specific notes. Oh, I did notice against Morales on his Contender Series fight. He was dropping his backhand when he entered the pocket, leaving his chin exposed a lot. And he kept eating big punches as a result of that. So I'm sure that's something Danny Barlow in his limited time of preparation for this guy is looking at that and thinking about, absolutely cracking him on that. So honestly, I'm thinking first round knockout might actually be the case. So I don't know about, because originally I was going to pick the over 1.5, but they changed the odds around. So I'm taking the under 2.5 minus 135, I think is actually a great pick. Moving on here, we've got Shepe Mariscal versus Damon Jackson. This is another one I've been flip-flopping on a lot the past few days. Shepe, quick, dirty boxer, solid judo base. He can keep a tremendous pace with his striking and grappling. And early in his career, he struggled a lot with range and guys that can neutralize the grappling game. And actually, in his last fight, he did as well against Charrier. Don't think that he won that fight. Pretty rough fight for him, honestly. But I think that he's going to take a lot from that and then use that against Damon Jackson. I don't necessarily think that Damon Jackson, if he were to fight Charrier right now, would do much better. Actually, no, he would against him, but I don't think he's better than him, essentially. But Shepe's been training with Justin Gaethje, so that's a guy that's given him much more range here than Damon Jackson. But Jackson is a versatile all-around guy. He's got a strong grappling base. He's improved his striking over time. He's got a range advantage. But he was also, as I say, he's been knocked out cold a couple times. He's an older guy as well. I have a strong lean on the over 1.5 rounds here. But I'm also really considering Shepe Mariscal over 1.5 rounds and kind of thinking about Mariscal knockout at plus 225. I think the odds on that are pretty good. as well. But minus 245 for the money line on Chepe. I don't know how I feel about that, because Damon Jackson is the type of guy that could. I take that back. I don't think Damon Jackson's got much for Chepe here. I think Chepe's in the zone, and I think he's ready to put on a dominant performance after his last one. So yeah. Moving on here, we got the main event of Marcin Tybura versus Errens-Spivak, and this is the rematch. Tybura, since 2020, 7-2 losses to Aspinall and Volkov, very respectable, very understandable losses. Spivak 6-2 since then, no losses to Aspinall and Gain, also very understandable, respectable losses. Spivak's put on about 20 pounds. He's entering his athletic prime. Tybura is 38 years old. He's still about the same size he was when they last fought as well. But I don't know if I necessarily have seen enough of improvement in Spivak's grappling, striking, or technique to really justify picking him over Tybura here. Tybura is such a consistent guy at the heavyweight division. Since then, his record doesn't look fantastic. What is it here? 12. His record's 12-7 in the UFC. 12-7, man. He's 38 years old. His record's 12-7. That's not fantastic. But again, since 2020, 7 and actually 8-2 if you include Spivak. So there you go. Wow. Yeah, honestly, Marcin Tybura, he's such an underrated fighter. He's really good at his kicking. His grappling, he looks like he's tired all the time, but he just grinds guys out against the cage, which normally I hate, but he mixes it up with a lot of strikes too. He's like throwing around guys that are huge, and he's huge. So I think these two are actually pretty evenly matched in terms of size. Volkov might have a little bit more weight, but in a 5-round fight, I don't think that's going to serve him well. He absolutely gassed and gave up against Cyril Gaines, so that's something to think about as well. So I'm really thinking this fight's going to go over 3.5 rounds. I don't know if it's going to make it to 5 rounds, but I think it's definitely going to go over 3.5. Moderately leaning on the Tybura money line, which has actually gone up to plus 142, opening from plus 100. So that's crazy to me as well. So the odds are getting worse for Tybura. I think he looks fantastic coming in here, but me, I'm always picking the underdog on the main card. Here we've got, everything collected here. We've got lock, strong leans. Boom. You can check me on this next week. Thank you all for tuning in. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. Thank you very much. And let's get this money, guys. 81% last week. Let's keep it up.